Dirk, talk to me about the books you're not going to talk about.
There are two books I'm not going to talk about, and I distinguish between the one I'm not going to talk about, which I brought with me, and the one I'm not going to talk about, which I didn't bring with me, which is actually the most interesting one. But there is also a book I'm going to talk about. And the book I'm going to talk about is The Leadership Code, which I will talk about in a minute. But I'm now first going to talk about the books I'm not going to talk about. And the most interesting book I'm going to talk about, not going to talk about, is a book written in 1942 by our famous Austrian economist. You know, by the way, that economist is a word which is said of two words, econo and mist. Anyway. So is this on the tape as well?
Going,
yes,
yeah,
probably.
Dirk, yeah,
Yeah.
thank you very
Joseph
much.
Schumpeter wrote a book in 1942. It's only 180 pages. It's again published with a wonderful title, Can Capitalism Survive? 1942. And you don't have to go to the trouble of reading the book, because the answer of the question is right at the end. No, it can't under the present form. And it's a joy to reread it again in 2010. So strongly recommended, but again, a book I'm not going to talk about. The one I'm not going to talk about, which I did bring, is a book with a nice title, Against the Gods, The Remarkable Story of Risk. It's story, not history. And it's a real story on risk and the way people over the time have been dealing with risk. And the interesting notion here is that the notion of bringing risk under control is a very recent one. It's a very recent one because we already knew about the wheel, we knew about mathematics, we knew that the earth was round before we knew anything about risk. And what the author is saying is that at a time when people realized that risk is a choice rather than a fate, according to him, that is when modern times started. It's great reading the book, especially because it was written in 1996. So before the whole risk model we had was turned upside down. And a comforting thing is that a lot of what has been said in this book is still true. And isn't that exactly what we need to read again things written in 1996?
And relevance to business?
Relevance to business is that you don't have to be afraid of risk. Risk is something, and there is a little bit of our friend Taleb coming in there, in spite of the fact that you will have your black swans. It's important to realize that risk is a part of life, and risk can, up to a certain extent, be controlled. And that certain extent is the famous 99% one. And I know about the black swan, the extra 1%. But still, a lot of the risk we are currently running is controllable, which makes lives livable.